Captain Elena Vasquez gripped the armrests of her command chair, the deck vibrating under her boots as the alien vessel's tractor beam locked on. "Evasive maneuvers now," she barked, her voice cutting through the red emergency lights flashing across the bridge of the ESS Defiant. Lieutenant Marco Ruiz, her tactical officer, fingers flying over the holographic controls, didn't look up. "They're too close, Captain. That beam's pulling us in like a fish on a line, shields at 80% and dropping." Sweat beaded on his forehead, but his hand stayed steady. Always the rock in the storm, Marco, with his unflinching calm that had saved their skins more times than she could count. From the engineering station, Dr. Lena Khalil spun in her chair, her dark eyes wide behind augmented lenses. "It's not just a beam, Elena. Scans show they're siphoning our core reactor fuel, helium-3 straight from the tanks we mined off Luna. If they take it all, we're dead in the water." Lena's voice carried that sharp edge of intellect, the kind that dissected problems before panic could set in. She'd been the one to spot the pattern months ago. Ghost signatures in Earth's orbit, vanishing payloads of rare Earths and isotopes. Aliens, skimming the planet like thieves in the night, fueling their empire while humanity slumbered. Elena leaned forward, scanning the main view screen where the alien ship loomed. A sleek obsidian wedge bristling with energy conduits. No ports or markings to humanize it. No hail, no warning, just this brazen grab. Earth's governments had laughed off her reports as sensor glitches, but here was proof, cold and clamping. "Hail them again. Tell them to release or we'll vent plasma into their hull." Marco shook his head, patching the comms anyway. No response. "They're jamming everything, but wait, I'm picking up a weak signal from their drive core. It's fluctuating, unstable, like they're overclocked." He glanced at her, a spark of that old mischief in his eyes. "Maybe they're desperate. Stealing from Earth means they've run dry somewhere." The ship shuddered, proximity alarms wailing as the tractor beam tightened. Elena felt the pull in her gut, the Defiant groaning like a beast in chains. Lena slammed a fist on her panel. "Fuel reserves at 40%. We lose more and the warp coils fry. Elena, we have to cut power to non-essentials, life support in the lower decks maybe." "No," Elena snapped, standing tall. Her crew deserved better than rationed air while aliens picked their bones. These intruders had hit mining outposts first, silent raids that left craters and empty silos. Now the Defiant, on a routine patrol, had stumbled into their trap. But stumbling meant opportunity if they could turn it. "Marco, reroute auxiliary power to the forward disruptors. Target their beam emitter. Lena, can you isolate their siphon frequency? Jam it back at them." Lena's fingers danced, code scrolling in glowing streams. "On it. Their tech's elegant. Quantum entanglement for the pull, but elegant breaks under brute force." A smirk tugged at her lips. The cautious analyst giving way to the innovator, who jury-rigged half the ship's defenses from scrap. The view screen flickered as the first disruptor shot lanced out. Blue fire grazing the alien's flank. No explosion, but the tractor beam wavered, the pull easing just enough for Marco to punch thrusters. The Defiant lurched free, spinning into open space, stars streaking past. Elena exhaled, but the victory tasted like ash. Scans showed the aliens retreating, but not before they'd taken a chunk of Earth's future. Fuel that could power cities, not just this lone frigate. "Track them," she ordered, settling back into her chair. "We're not letting these shadows steal from us anymore. Plot a pursuit course." As the engines hummed to life, Marco met her gaze. "To the edge of the system?" "To their heart," Elena replied, the words a vow. The aliens thought Earth ripe for the plucking. They'd learn soon enough humanity didn't yield its light. The Defiant's engines thrummed like a heartbeat, propelling the frigate into the void beyond Sol's outer markers. Elena gripped the armrests of her command chair, eyes locked on the holographic display where the alien vessel's signature flickered, a faint, mocking echo against the starfield. Marco adjusted the course with quick taps, his fingers dancing over the console, sweat beading on his brow despite the recycled air's chill. "They're accelerating," he said, voice steady but edged with caution. "Jumping to their relay point. If we push the engines harder, we risk overheating the core." Elena nodded, her mind racing through options. The aliens, those sleek biomechanical predators from the fringes, had hit Earth's mining outpost twice before, siphoning helium-3 like thieves in the night. This time they'd nearly claimed the Defiant itself. No more running. "Overheat be damned. Divert auxiliary power to propulsion. We're closing the gap." A low groan echoed through the hull as the ship surged forward. Alarms chirped softly, warning of strain, but Marco silenced them with a flick. In the dim glow of the bridge, his face hardened. Brave, always the one to push limits without flinching. Beside them, Technician Reyes hunched over her station, her witty sarcasm muted by focus as she rerouted energy flows. "That's like hot wiring a starship with dental floss," she muttered. But her hands moved with precision, stabilizing the surge. Hours blurred into the relentless black. The alien ship grew larger on scans, its form a needle-thin silhouette wreathed in ethereal plasma vents. Elena leaned forward, tracing the trajectory. "Their heart," she'd said. But what lay there? Rumors from deep space probes spoke of hive worlds, clusters of organic stations feeding on stolen stars. If they could board it, plant a disruptor in its core— "Contact," Marco announced, his voice snapping her back. The display lit up with incoming signals, garbled bursts like whispers in a storm. Not communication, jamming. Reyes swore under her breath. "They're deploying drones. Small ones fast. Looks like interceptors." Elena straightened. "Evasive pattern Delta. Fire point defenses." The ship shuddered as railguns spat kinetic rounds, streaking lights against the dark. One drone shattered in a bloom of debris, but others swarmed, nipping at the Defiant's shields with energy lances. A hit rocked them, sparks flying from a panel near Marco's feet. He banked hard, the stars wheeling. "Shields at 70%. They're herding us toward that asteroid field ahead." The field loomed on the scopes, a graveyard of shattered rock tumbling through the relay's gravity well. Perfect ambush territory. Elena's jaw tightened. The early plan, straight pursuit, overwhelmed with speed, cracked under the reality. Push through and they'd be picked apart. Fall back and the thieves escaped with Earth's lifeline. Alter course, she decided, the words cutting through the tension. "Use the field for cover. Reyes, prep the mining drone for launch. We're turning their trap against them." Reyes glanced up, a spark of her usual wit returning. "You want to play asteroid tag with a harvester bot?" "Bold, Captain. Reckless, even." "Reckless wins wars," Elena replied, meeting her gaze. Marco grinned faintly, already plotting the dive. The Defiant plunged into the debris. Rocks the size of shuttles grazing the hull with thunderous scrapes. Drones buzzed closer, their lances probing the shadows. Elena watched as Reyes armed the drone. A bulky earth hauler retrofitted with cutters and grapples meant for ore, not combat. "Launch on my mark," Elena said. The swarm tightened, 3 drones locking on. Marco weaved through a boulder, the ship groaning in protest. "Mark!" The mining drone ejected, its thrusters flaring. It wasn't sleek, but it was stubborn, barreling toward the lead drone like a bull in a china shop. Grapples extended mid-flight, snagging the alien craft and yanking it into a spinning chunk of ice. Explosions lit the field, chain reacting as debris pelted the rest. The path cleared, if only for a breath. The alien ship loomed ahead, its vents pulsing brighter, as if sensing the pursuit's bite. But the Defiant's core temperature spiked, red lines crawling across the gauges. Marco wiped his forehead. "We're venting plasma. One more burn and we might not pull out." Elena exhaled, the cost settling in. They'd drawn blood, but the chase had marked them too. "Steady on. Their hearts within reach. We steal it back, piece by piece." The Defiant shuddered as Marco punched the thrusters, closing the gap to the alien vessel. Ice shards whipped past the viewport, glinting like shattered diamonds under the distant sun. Elena gripped the console, her knuckles white, eyes locked on the target's pulsing vents, glowing slits that vented superheated gas in rhythmic bursts. "Range to docking clamps, 500 meters, she said, voice steady despite the alarms blaring. "They're accelerating. If we don't latch soon, we'll slingshot right past." Marco nodded, sweat beading on his brow. He was the steady one, the engineer who'd jury-rigged half the ship's systems from scrapback on the asteroid belt. No flare, just fix as that lasted. Compensating. "Hold her steady, Lena." Behind them, Raj stirred in the co-pilot's seat, his wiry frame coiled like a spring. The youngest of the crew, but his quick mind had spotted the alien drone's weak points in the initial skirmish. He tapped the scanner readout, frowning. "Their hull's adaptive, shifting alloys. Our grapples might not bite clean. And that core signature. It's spiking. Like they're powering up a shield." Elena shot him a glance. "Options?" "Ram if we have to," Marco grunted, fingers dancing over controls. But that'd kiss goodbye to our hull integrity. The ship lurched as a fresh wave of debris battered the shields, sparks erupting from a console. Elena felt the vibration in her teeth. The Defiant was tough, built from Earth-salvaged freighters, but she wasn't invincible. They'd come this far chasing whispers of alien tech stolen from Luna's deep mines, crystalline power cells that could revolutionize human colonies. The Xenos had swiped them during a raid, leaving ghost signals in their wake. Now, with the drones scrap and the mothership in sight, failure meant more than empty hands. It meant Earth stayed in the Dark Ages while these invaders feasted on stolen light. "Clamps ready," Marco announced. The alien ship filled the viewport now, a hulking wedge of obsidian curves, its surface rippling like oil on water. Vents flared wider, expelling a plume that lit the void in electric blue. "Initiate," Elena ordered. The grapples fired with a metallic screech echoing through the hull. Lines snaked out, magnetic tips seeking purchase. One latched true, biting into a seam near the midsection. The Defiant jolted, yanked forward as the alien craft tried to shake them off, its engines roaring in silent fury. "Second clamp missed," Raj called, slamming a fist on his panel. "They're modulating their field. It's repelling us." Elena leaned forward, calculating trajectories in her head. She was the tactician, the one who'd mapped this suicide run from orbital scans. Brave to a fault, but not reckless. Every move weighed against the crew's lives. "Override the maglocks. Boost to full adhesion." Marco vent auxiliary plasma to mask our approach. He hesitated a beat, then complied. A hiss filled the cabin as reserves dumped into space, creating a hazy shroud. The second clamp struck home, grinding against the alien hull with a sound like tearing foil. Docked. But alarms wailed anew, proximity alerts. The alien ship's defenses stirred, ports irising open along its flank. Turrets, drones. Elena's pulse raced. "Suit up," she said, unstrapping. "We're breaching. Raj, you and Marco cover the lock. I'll take point." Raj's eyes widened, but he moved fast, grabbing breather packs. "What if it's a trap?" "Their tech—" "Every second counts," Elena cut in, sealing her helmet. "We steal their existence, remember? Starting now." The airlock cycled with a groan, equalizing pressure that felt too thin, too alien. Marco hefted a plasma cutter, his face grim behind the visor. "Watch your six, Captain." This beast's got teeth. They spilled into the void, mag boots clamping to the enemy hull. The surface hummed underfoot, warm and alive, veins of light pulsing beneath. Elena led, cutter in one hand, scanner in the other. The breach point loomed, a service hatch unguarded but sealed tight. She ignited the cutter, blue flame slicing into the alloy. Sparks flew, illuminating the curve of the ship against the icy rings beyond. But as the metal yielded, a low vibration built like the growl of awakening machinery. "Sensors picking up movement inside," Raj whispered over comms. "Multiple signatures heading our way." Elena's beam faltered for a split second. The cut was halfway through. Retreat meant losing the trail forever. Push on, and they might not come back whole. "Keep cutting," she said, voice firm. "We're in this together." The hatch buckled, peeling back with a screech. Darkness yawned within, lit by faint ethereal glows. Elena stepped through first, rifle raised, the unknown pressing close like a held breath. Elena moved deeper into the corridor, her boots echoing softly against the polished deck. The air hummed with an alien rhythm, like distant drums pulsing through the walls. Faint bioluminescent veins traced the ceiling, casting shifting shadows that made every corner feel alive. Raj flanked her right, his scanner humming low. Life signs converging, 3, no, 4 contacts. Closing fast. His voice was steady, but his grip tightened on the rifle. Behind them, Kira covered the rear, her cautious eyes scanning the hatch they'd breached. She was the planner, always double-checking angles, and now her whisper cut through. "We need a fallback." "That vibration's not random, it's a response." Elena nodded, not breaking stride. The corridor branched ahead, narrow and lined with humming panels that flickered with unfamiliar script. She chose left toward the signatures, heart pounding in sync with the ship's thrum. No time for debate. The artifact they'd tracked from Earth's orbit was here, stolen biotech that could rewrite human medicine, or weaponize it against them. A hiss echoed from the junction. Shapes emerged, tall, slender figures with iridescent skin that shimmered like oil on water. Xylari scouts, 4 of them, their multi-jointed arms ending in probing tendrils. They moved with liquid grace, emitting clicks that vibrated the air. "Contact!" Raj barked, firing a burst from his pulse rifle. The shot sizzled against the nearest alien's hide, scorching but not dropping it. The creature recoiled, tendrils whipping forward in retaliation. Elena dove behind a bulkhead as energy lances scorched the deck where she'd stood. The air smelled of ozone and something sharper, like burnt chitin. Flank them! Kira, suppress from the rear! Kira's shots rang out, precise and measured, forcing one scout to duck into a side alcove. But the aliens adapted quick. Their tendrils extended, latching onto the walls to swing around the corners, evading direct fire. One latched onto Raj's shoulder, injecting a paralytic that made him grunt and stagger. Get it off! Elena shouted, lunging forward. She slammed her rifle butt into the tendril, severing it with a wet snap. Raj shook free, cursing under his breath, but his arm hung limp. The scouts pressed, their clicks rising to a chittering chorus. Elena's mind raced. Standard tactics weren't cutting it. These things learned too fast. She scanned the corridor, spotting a service grate half hidden by the glowing veins. Improvise. Raj, cover me. Kira, draw them to the junction. As the aliens advanced, Elena knelt and pried the grate loose with her multi-tool. Inside, conduits snaked like veins, pulsing with the ship's energy. Human ingenuity, they hadn't come empty-handed. She pulled a compact EMP grenade from her pack, Earth-made, tuned for alien frequencies after months of black site testing. Kira's voice crackled. They're splitting, 2 on me. Bursts of fire lit the corridor and a sharp cry echoed. Alien or human, Elena couldn't tell. No choice. Elena armed the grenade, its timer set for 5 seconds. She hurled it into the conduits, the device lodging perfectly amid the wires. The scouts turned toward the disturbance, tendrils probing curiously. The explosion was contained but fierce, a blue-white flash that rippled through the panels. The aliens seized, their bodies locking in electromagnetic seizure, tendrils thrashing wildly before going slack. Lights dimmed along the corridor, the ship's hum stuttering like a faltering engine. Elena rose, rifle ready as silence fell. Raj slumped against the wall, working his numb arm. That was not in the plan. Kira emerged from the junction, a shallow gash on her cheek, dragging an alien pulse emitter she'd scavenged. Plan's flexible, but we've got company incoming, bigger signatures now. That EMP just woke the hive. Elena glanced at the fallen scouts, their forms still twitching faintly. The cost hit her. 1 EMP down and the ship's defenses roused. But the path ahead cleared, leading to a larger chamber where the artifact's signal pulsed stronger. They pressed on. The corridors glowed dimmer now, shadows longer. Whatever the Xylari had stolen from Earth, humans were here to reclaim it and make them pay for the theft. Elena gripped her rifle tighter, the corridor's dim glow casting jagged shadows that danced like warning signals. The artifact's hum grew insistent, vibrating through the metal floor, pulling them deeper into the Xylari hive ship. Kira led the way, her scavenged pulse emitter slung over her shoulder like a trophy from hell, its faint blue light flickering in rhythm with her steps. Signatures are closing fast, Kira muttered, glancing at her wrist scanner. 3 heavies, maybe enforcers. We've got maybe 2 minutes before they bottleneck us. Raj flexed his numb arm, wincing as pins and needles shot through it. We can't fight them head on. Those things are armored like tanks. We need a diversion, something to split them up. Elena nodded, her mind racing through the schematics they'd memorized back on the dropship. The larger chamber ahead was a nexus point, laced with maintenance conduits and power relays. If they could overload one. The vents. We rigged the emitter to fry a relay, collapse a section of the path behind us. Buys us time, but it'll light us up on their sensors like a flare. Kira's eyes lit up, a grim smile cracking her bloodied cheek. Risky. If it backfires, we're cooked in here. But yeah, better than playing tag with enforcers. She unslung the emitter, her fingers dancing over its alien controls, with the ease of someone who'd cracked worse puzzles in Sims. They reached the chamber's threshold, a vast dome of iridescent alloy humming with energy. The artifact sat at its center, a crystalline obelisk pulsing with stolen Earth tech. Quantum cores ripped from orbital labs, now fueling the Xylari's warp drives. Guards patrolled its base, sleek drones whirring softly, but no heavies yet. Go, Elena whispered, covering the entrance as Raj and Kira darted to a nearby conduit panel. Sparks flew as Kira pried it open, exposing a nest of glowing cables. Raj handed her a jury-rigged detonator from his pack, his hand steady despite the tremor in his voice. Link it here, he said, pointing. Pulse the emitter through this line. Should cascade the overload. The first enforcer's roar echoed from the corridor, a guttural thrum that shook dust from the ceiling. Heavy footfalls pounded closer, vibrating the air. Kira jammed the emitter into place, her breath quick and sharp. Charging. 10 seconds. Elena sighted down her rifle, heart slamming against her ribs. The drones in the chamber swiveled toward the noise, their sensors blinking red. One peeled off, vectoring toward the entrance. 9, 8. Kira counted, sweat beading on her forehead. The drone burst into view first, its laser array spinning up. Elena fired, a tight burst that shattered its core in a spray of molten shards. But the Enforcer lumbered in behind, a hulking mass of chitin and servo joints, its plasma cannon glowing hot. 7, damn it. Raj yanked a cable loose to reroute power. But the connection sparked wildly, feedback jolting through the emitter. It whined, unstable, the overload accelerating too fast. The Enforcer fired, the blast scorching the wall inches from Elena's head. She rolled, firing back, her shots pinging off its armor like rain on steel. Kira now. 6, it's surging! Kira slammed her palm against the panel, but the emitter buckled, flames licking its casing. The conduit erupted in a chain of explosions. Blue fire racing along the walls. The blast wave hit like a hammer, hurling Raj against the chamber floor. Elena dove for cover as debris rained down, the Enforcer staggering but not falling, its shields absorbing the worst. The corridor behind collapsed in a thunderous roar, sealing off the reinforcements, but the chamber's lights flickered, emergency klaxons wailing. Kira coughed, hauling Raj up. His arm hung limp now, burned from the feedback. Plan B, then. We grab the artifact and run the gauntlet. Elena rose, rifle smoking, the obelisk's glow illuminating the Enforcer's advance. Its cannon recharged with a menacing hum. They had the prize in sight, but the cost was mounting. Raj's injury, the hive fully alerted. No turning back. The team closed ranks, eyes locked on the crystal heart of the enemy. Raj gritted his teeth as Kira slung his good arm over her shoulder, the artifact chamber's acrid smoke stinging his eyes. The obelisk pulsed like a living thing, its crystal facets refracting the emergency lights into jagged rainbows across the walls. The Enforcer's servos whined, its cannon tracking Elena's position with mechanical precision. Flank it! Elena barked, rolling behind a toppled console. Her voice cut through the chaos, steady despite the sweat beading on her brow. She fired a burst, sparks erupting from the Enforcer's joint, a weak spot they'd scouted in the schematics back when hope still felt plentiful. Kira dragged Raj toward the obelisk, her boots scraping against the grated floor. Cover us! That thing's locking on. The Enforcer pivoted, its armored bulk shrugging off another volley from Elena. A plasma bolt lanced out, melting a support beam inches from her head. She cursed, scrambling back, the heat singeing her sleeve. Raj's vision blurred, the burn in his arm throbbing with each heartbeat. He fumbled for his sidearm with his free hand, firing blindly. The shot pinged harmlessly off the Enforcer's shield. We need to overload it. Reroute the chamber's power grid. Kira nodded, eyes darting to the control panels lining the walls. They were half buried under rubble, but accessible. Elena, buy us 30 seconds. The Enforcer advanced, its sensors sweeping the room. Elena popped up, unloading her magazine into its optics. One lens shattered in a spray of glass and circuitry, but the machine didn't falter. It retaliated with a sweeping arc of its arm, crumpling the console she'd just vacated. Metal groaned as it tore free, hurling toward her like a battering ram. She dove, the debris slamming into the floor where she'd stood. Rolling to her feet, she ejected the empty clip, slamming in a fresh one. Time's up. It's adapting. Shields are modulating frequencies. Kira reached the nearest panel, Raj leaning heavily against her. His fingers danced over the keys, inputting the override code they'd pieced together from intercepted alien transmissions. Sparks flew from the board, the system resisting like a cornered animal. Come on, you Xeno scrap heap, he muttered, sweat dripping onto the screen. The Enforcer zeroed in, cannon charging with a rising pitch. Elena sprinted across the chamber, drawing its fire. Bolts scorched the air, forcing her to weave between fallen pillars. One grazed her leg, the pain sharp but ignored. She had to keep it off them. Got it! Raj yelled. The panel lit up, energy conduits glowing as power surged toward the obelisk. The Enforcer stuttered, its shields flickering erratically. But the feedback hit hard. The chamber's lights dimmed and a low vibration built in the floor. Like the hive itself was awakening. Kira yanked the crystal free from its pedestal, the obelisk dimming to a dull gleam. She stuffed it into her pack, the weight pulling at her shoulders. Artifact secured. Now we move. Elena limped toward them, rifle slung low. The Enforcer recovered, its cannon whining back to life. A final shot from her cracked its shoulder joint, buying them a heartbeat. They bolted for the far exit, the corridor beyond yawning like a throat ready to swallow them whole. Alarms blared louder now, the hive's defenses mobilizing. Raj stumbled, his injured arm useless, but Kira hauled him onward. Not dying here, she growled. Not after this. The tunnel narrowed, bioluminescent veins in the walls pulsing with alarm. Behind the Enforcer's heavy footfalls echoed, relentless. Elena glanced back, her face set in grim determination. They know we're rats in the walls now. No more stealth. They pushed deeper, the artifact's faint hum a reminder of what they'd stolen, and what it might cost to keep. The tunnel squeezed tighter, forcing them to duck low as bioluminescent veins throbbed red with warning pulses. Raj's breath came in ragged bursts, his injured arm dangling like dead weight against his side. Kira led the way, her boots scraping against the slick organic floor that seemed to writhe underfoot. Elena brought up the rear, clutching the artifact's satchel to her chest, its hum vibrating through her ribs like a trapped heartbeat. Split up? Raj gasped, voice echoing too loud in the confined space. No, Kira snapped, not breaking stride. That thing's got sensors. It'll pick us off one by one. The Enforcer's footfalls grew louder, a mechanical thunder that shook dust from the ceiling. Elena risked a glance back. The corridor behind was a blur of shadows, but she could make out the glint of its armored form rounding the bend, cannon arms swiveling with predatory precision. They burst into a wider chamber, a nexus of tunnels branching like roots from a massive pulsating core. The air here was thicker, laced with a metallic tang that burned the throat. Glowing pods lined the walls, each cradling what looked like dormant larvae, their translucent skins twitching faintly. Kira skidded to a halt, eyes scanning the options. Left tunnel, look service access. Narrow enough to slow it down. Elena nodded, already moving, but Raj faltered, leaning against the core for support. Pain etched lines across his face, sweat beading on his brow. Go without me. I'm just dragging. Shut it, Kira growled, slinging his good arm over her shoulder. We don't leave crew behind. Not on my watch. The Enforcer entered the chamber with a whine of hydraulics, its sensors sweeping the room in a sweep of blue light. Pods shattered under its bulk as it advanced, shards of chitin scattering like brittle glass. It fired a warning burst, the bolt scorching the wall inches from Elena's head, filling the air with ozone. They dove into the left tunnel, the Enforcer's cannon barking again. The shot grazed the entrance, sealing part of it with molten residue that hardened instantly, buying them seconds. But the beast was adapting, its shoulder joint cracked from Kira's earlier hit, whirred as servos compensated, allowing it to pivot faster. Deeper in, the tunnel forked again, this one sloping downward into darkness. Bioluminescence faded here, leaving only the faint glow from Elena's satchel. She pulled a chem light from her pack, cracking it open to cast a green haze over the group. The walls felt alive, secreting a viscous slime that clung to their clothes. Map says this leads to the gestation vaults, Elena whispered, consulting the stolen data slate strapped to her wrist. But it's a dead end if we don't find the override. Raj winced, probing his wound with his free hand. Blood seeped through the makeshift bandage. Override? With what? We've got a rock and a prayer. The distant clamor of the Enforcer echoed. It was forcing its way through the sealed entrance, metal screeching against the hive's flesh. Kira set Raj down gently against the wall, her face a mask of calculation. We improvise. That core back there, it's a nerve junction. Hive's like a body. Cut the signals and this thing goes blind. Elena shook her head, urgency sharpening her words. Tamper with that and we could trigger a full shutdown. Larvae everywhere, security swarms. Better than dying pinned, Kira countered, already rummaging in her pack for the multi-tool. Raj, you good to cover? He nodded grimly, unshouldering his rifle despite the pain shooting up his arm. As long as it doesn't require two hands to pull the trigger. They backtracked cautiously, the Enforcer's approach now a steady rumble. In the chamber it had paused, scanning the pods as if assessing damage to its charges. Kira darted to the core, a throbbing mass of tendrils and nodes, and pried open a panel with a hiss of escaping gas. Wires, no organic conduits, pulsed with inner light. Here, she muttered, slicing into one with the tool's vibro blade. Sparks flew, not electrical but bioluminescent, painting her face in erratic flashes. The core shuddered and the Enforcer froze mid-step, its head jerking as if confused. Elena watched from the tunnel mouth, artifact secure. It's working, sensors are glitching. But the hive fought back. The core convulsed, tendrils lashing out like whips, one catching Kira's leg and yanking her off balance. She cursed, stabbing at it, but the appendage tightened, drawing her closer. Raj fired from his position, the shot severing the tendril in a spray of ichor. Kira rolled free, gasping, but the damage was done. The enforcer rebooted with a roar, charging straight at them, pods exploding in its wake. "Run!" Elena yelled, hauling Raj up. They fled down the slope, the enforcer hot on their heels, its cannon overheating from rapid fire. The tunnel ended abruptly at a vast vault door, sealed with a lattice of energy filaments. Beyond, faint cries echoed the gestation chambers. Kira slammed her fist against the control pad, but it sparked and died. The hive system's in chaos from her sabotage. "No good, we need to hotwire it." Elena thrust the artifact forward. "Use this. It's a power source. Resonates with their tech." Raj covered them, laying down suppressing fire that pinged harmlessly off the enforcer's plating. It closed the distance, relentless. Kira jury-rigged the connection, artifact humming louder as it interfaced. The door groaned, filaments flickering, then parting with a wet schlick. They tumbled through just as the enforcer lunged, its claw raking the frame. The door resealed, muffling its furious pounding. Inside the vaults, rows of gestation pods lined the walls, each a translucent sac pulsing with faint bioluminescent veins. The air hung thick, humid, laced with a metallic tang that clawed at their throats. Kira wiped sweat from her brow, her pulse rifle slung over her shoulder as she scanned the dim expanse. "Keep moving. Those cries, they're getting louder." Elena clutched the artifact tighter, its surface warm against her palm, vibrating like a trapped heartbeat. She stepped forward, boots squelching on the slick floor, and peered into the nearest pod. Inside, a form twisted, half-formed embryonic limbs flailing against the membrane. Not human, not quite alien either. A hybrid abomination, stolen DNA woven into their nightmare machinery. "This is it," she whispered, voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. "The core of their theft. Earth's genetics, twisted for their empire." Raj flanked her, his breath ragged from the sprint, eyes darting to the shadows where enforcer silhouettes might lurk. He reloaded his sidearm with practiced snaps, the click echoing too loudly. "Philosophy later. We've got maybe minutes before that thing outside rallies more, or worse, calls in the swarm." He nodded toward a central dais ahead, ringed by larger pods that hummed with escalating energy. The heart of the chamber where the queen, or whatever passed for one, oversaw the birthing. Kira led the way, weaving between the rows, her cautious instincts warring with the urgency gnawing at her gut. Brave didn't mean reckless. She'd seen too many ops turn south from blind charges. "Fan out. Elena, you and that relic find the override nexus. Raj, high ground on that catwalk." She pointed to a rusted gantry overhead, its ladder slick with condensation. Elena hesitated, glancing back at the sealed door. The pounding had stopped, replaced by a low, ominous hum vibrating through the walls. What if it's a trap? These vaults, they're not just storage. The schematic showed fail-safe, self-destruct sequences if intruders, which is why we don't dawdle. Raj cut her off, already climbing, his wiry frame pulling him up with gritty determination. He was the witty one, usually, cracking wise to cut the tension, but now his jaw set firm, focus sharpening like a blade. From above, he whistled low. "Clear up here, but I see vents opening. Air's shifting, they're flushing something in." Kira pushed on, her hand brushing a pod that quivered at her touch. A tiny face pressed against the gel, eyes, human eyes locking onto hers for a split second before it recoiled. The sight twisted something deep, fueling her resolve. Earth's children, bartered and bred for alien wars, not on her watch. She reached the dais, a console flickering with holographic readouts and jagged alien script. "Elena, over here. Interface that thing now." Elena joined her, kneeling to slot the artifact into a glowing receptacle. It fit with a resonant click and the console lit up, streams of data cascading like digital rain. But the hum intensified, pods along the walls cracking open with wet pops. Larval forms spilled out, writhing on the floor. Not full enforcers, but scouts, chitinous and quick, scuttling toward them on too many legs. "Contact!" Raj shouted from above, his rifle barking suppressed bursts. One scout jerked and burst in a spray of ichor, but more poured from the shadows, their mandibles clicking in eerie unison. He swung down the ladder, landing with a roll, and fired again, buying them seconds. Kira snatched her rifle, laying down covering fire that scorched the nearest wave. The air filled with acrid smoke, the scout's shrieks piercing the din. It's not working. The Nexus is fighting back. Elena yanked at the artifact, but it fused deeper, sparks flying as systems clashed. A scout lunged at Kira's leg, its claw grazing her boot before she stomped it flat. Pain flared, but she ignored it, hauling Elena up. "Pull it, we improvise. Raj, cover the flanks." Raj pivoted, his shots precise, dropping 2 more. But a third leaped onto his back, claws digging into his shoulder. He roared, twisting to slam it against a pod, the impact shattering both. Blood seeped through his jacket, but he grinned through gritted teeth. "Just a scratch. Keep pushing. I see the Queen's chamber ahead through that arch." The initial plan, a clean interface and shutdown, backfired spectacularly. The artifact wasn't just a key, it was bait, drawing the hive's defenses like a flare in the night. Pods ruptured in chain reactions, flooding the vault with half-birthed horrors. Kira's mind raced, human grit kicking in. No tech wizardry here, just raw adaptation. "Elena, reroute the power. Use the artifact to overload their grid, not hack it. Blow the whole damn gestation line." Elena's eyes widened, but she nodded. Fingers flying over the console's manual overrides, bypassing the interface. The artifact pulsed brighter, channeling Earth's stolen essence against its captors. Energy arced, pods igniting in sequence. The cries turning to wails as the chamber trembled. Scouts swarmed thicker, one pinning Kira against the dais. She drove her rifle butt into its maw, feeling the crunch, then kicked free. Raj staggered to her side, firing one-handed, his wound slowing him but not stopping. That's the spirit. Turn their toy against him. The overload built, a crescendo of heat and light. The arch to the Queen's chamber loomed, but the floor buckled first, a chasm splitting open as structural integrity failed. Elena teetered on the edge, the artifact scorching her hands. "It's working, but we have to jump now." They leaped as one, the dais exploding behind them in a fireball that consumed the vaults. Landing hard in the antechamber, they rolled to their feet amid swirling smoke and debris. The antechamber's walls pulsed with an unnatural glow, veins of bioluminescent fluid cracking like lightning across the stone. Helena clutched the artifact tighter, its edges biting into her palms, but she didn't let go. The heat from the explosion still licked at their backs, a reminder that the vaults were no more, sealed off in ruin. Kira scanned the shadows, rifle raised, her breath steady despite the adrenaline surge. "Clear ahead?" "Raj, talk to me." Raj winced as he pressed a hand to his side, blood seeping through his fingers, but he nodded sharply. "Path to the Queen's chambers intact. Scouts will be on us soon, though. That blast was a dinner bell." He glanced at the artifact in Elena's grip, its core humming faintly now, synchronized with the chamber's rhythm. "You holding up with that thing? Feels like it's sinking to their hive." Elena swallowed hard, feeling the artifact's warmth spread up her arms, almost like a heartbeat matching her own. "It's alive but stable. We push forward. Overloaded in the core, end this." Her voice carried the weight of their gamble. The device, stolen from the Raptor's own tech, was their improvised bomb, but wiring it wrong could vaporize them first. They moved as a unit, boots scraping against the uneven floor. The antechamber narrowed into a corridor lined with alcoves, each harboring dormant pods like coffins waiting to hatch. One stirred at their passage, a scout's claw twitching, but Kira's quick shot shattered the glass, silencing it before it could rise. "No time for pets," she muttered, her cautious nature yielding to the fire in her eyes. Tension coiled tighter as they rounded a bend. The air grew thicker, laced with a metallic tang that burned the throat. Raj lagged a step, his wound sapping strength, but he waved off Elena's concerned look. "Keep moving. I'm the muscle here. Can't quit now." His wit cut through the strain, drawing a grim smile from Kira. A low rumble echoed from behind, the structure groaning under the explosion's aftershocks. Cracks spiderwebbed the ceiling, dust sifting down like ash. "Faster," Elena urged, her steps quickening. The artifact vibrated in her hands, pulling her forward as if it knew the way. They burst into the Queen's chamber, a vast dome throbbing with life. Bioluminescent tendrils draped from the ceiling, feeding into a central dais where the Queen loomed. Massive, segmented, her mandibles clicking in rhythmic command. Eggs clustered around her, pulsing with stolen Earth genetics. Hybrid abominations twisting human and raptor forms. The air hummed with her psychic drone, a pressure that made knees buckle. Kira dropped to a knee, sighting her rifle. Target the eggs first, cut off her future. But the Queen sensed them, her head swiveling with eerie precision. Scouts erupted from hidden vents, a swarm descending in a chittering wave. Raj fired into the fray, his shots precise despite the pain.
Flank left!
Elena, get that thing to the dais. He charged forward, drawing fire, his brave lunge buying them seconds. Elena darted right, artifact clutched like a talisman, dodging claws that slashed the air inches from her. One scout latched onto her leg, its grip like iron. She bashed it free with the device's edge, the impact sending a jolt through her body. The artifact flared, repelling the creature in a burst of energy. Their first sign it was adapting to human touch. Kira covered her, picking off attackers with short, controlled bursts. Almost there, don't stop. But a scout blindsided her, slamming her against the wall. Her rifle skittered away and she grappled with it, fingers digging into its exoskeleton. The fight was raw, her breaths ragged as she twisted free, reclaiming her weapon just in time. Raj's voice cut through the chaos. Incoming, more from the vents. He was bleeding heavier now, vision blurring, but he held the line, his camaraderie fueling the stand. The Queen reared, her psychic wail intensifying, eggs hatching in response, small horrors skittering toward them. Elena reached the dais, slamming the artifact into its socket. It fit with a resonant click, interfaces merging in a shower of sparks. It's linking, but I need time. The overload sequence initiated, a digital countdown only she could sense through the device's feedback. The swarm closed in, overwhelming their positions. Kira took a gash across her arm, blood slicking her grip, but she fought on, her determination unyielding. Raj collapsed to one knee, firing until his magazine clicked empty. Elena, now! She twisted the final connector, the chamber erupting in cascading light. Energy surged through the hive's core, the Queen's shriek piercing the din as her systems rebelled. Scouts faltered, convulsing, their stolen Earth tech backfiring in a chain reaction. The Queen thrashed, tendrils whipping wildly, one catching Raj and hurling him aside. He hit the ground hard, rolling to a stop near Elena. She hauled him up, the artifact's glow illuminating his pale face. We did it, she gasped as the overload peaked. The chamber shuddered, the Queen's form fracturing from within, her essence unraveling in arcs of plasma. Eggs burst prematurely, denying her legacy. The humans retreated as the dome began to collapse, sections of ceiling plummeting. They stumbled back through the corridor, the structure's death throes chasing them. Scouts lay twitching in their wake, the hive's collapse sealing fates. Emerging into the outer tunnels, they paused, chests heaving, the artifact inert in Elena's hands, its purpose fulfilled, but at a price. Raj leaned against the wall, binding his wound with a torn strip from his sleeve. Grit got us through, but that cost. We'll carry it. His voice was steady, defiant amid the fatigue. Elena gripped the artifact tighter, its once pulsing core now a dull, lifeless weight in her palm. The tunnels ahead branched into shadows, the air thick with the acrid tang of melting chitin. Behind them, the hive's roar faded to a distant rumble, but she knew it wasn't over. The scouts they'd passed were just the first wave. Raj straightened, wincing as he tied off the makeshift bandage around his thigh. Blood seeped through the fabric, dark and stubborn. We can't stay here. Those outer patrols will sniff us out soon. His eyes scanned the dim passage, the faint bioluminescent veins in the walls casting eerie green highlights on his sweat-slicked skin. Mira nodded, her breath still ragged from the sprint. She adjusted the strap of her pack, the last of their charges tucked inside, enough for one more diversion if needed. The extraction point's 2 clicks north through the undergrid. If we push hard, we make it before the collapse spreads. Her voice carried that cautious edge, always calculating the odds, but there was fire in it now, tempered by what they'd done. The ground trembled again, a low vibration that sent loose pebbles skittering. Elena felt it in her bones, a reminder of the Queen's death echoing through the hive's veins. They'd stolen more than the artifact. They'd unraveled the heart of the Vexari Empire on this rock. But the cost, Raj's leg, the slim margin they'd escaped by, hung heavy. North it is, Raj said, pushing off the wall. He tested his weight, grimacing but standing tall. I'll take point. You two cover the rear. They moved out, boots scraping softly against the uneven floor. The tunnel widened into a labyrinth of service conduits, remnants of the Vexari's ancient mining ops before they'd turned the planet into a brood world. Elena's flashlight cut thin beams through the dust, revealing rusted gantries and forgotten machinery half buried in fungal growth. Half a click in, Mira hissed a warning. Contacts, 3 scouts closing from the side vent. Her scanner beeped faintly, the jury-rigged human tech holding up against the interference. Raj dropped to a knee, rifle up. Flank 'em. Elena, that EMP grenade, now. She fumbled it from her belt, heart pounding. The device was a hasty mod from their shuttle's stores, meant to fry Vexari neural links. She yanked the pin and lobbed it into the vent. A sharp crack echoed, followed by chittering shrieks as the scouts convulsed, their exoskeletons sparking. Clear, Mira reported, lowering her weapon. But as they pressed on, Elena noticed Raj lagging, his steps uneven. The wound was worse than he'd let on. Pale lines of infection already creeping up his skin from the scout's barb. They reached a junction, the undergrid's massive pipes humming with residual energy. The extraction point loomed on the map, a forgotten cargo bay where their shuttle waited, cloaked and silent. But the path dipped into a flooded section, water lapping at knee height, glowworms dancing on the surface like false stars.
Through here?
Elena asked, voice low. No choice, Raj grunted, wading in first. The cold bit at her legs as she followed, the artifact safe in her sealed pouch. Mira brought up the rear, eyes darting to every ripple. Midway, the water surged, a pressure wave from the collapsing hive. Raj stumbled, cursing as he caught himself on a pipe. Elena lunged to steady him, but the current yanked her off balance. Mira's hand shot out, grabbing her collar. Hold! Mira barked, hauling them both upright. They clung together, the artifact pressing cold against Elena's chest. As the surge ebbed, Raj met their eyes. I'm slowing us down. Leave the pack, lighten the load. Like hell, Elena snapped, her bravery flaring hot. We don't ditch our own. Not after the Queen. Mira scanned ahead, spotting a service ladder rusted but intact. Up there, bypass the flood. Elena, boost him. I'll cover. They improvised. Elena laced her fingers for a stirrup, Raj grunting as he climbed, blood trailing down his leg into the water. Mira followed, then pulled Elena up with a yank that strained her shoulders. The ladder groaned but held, depositing them on a narrow catwalk overlooking the bay. From here, the shuttle's silhouette gleamed faintly through a grate. Salvation just beyond. But alarms wailed in the distance, Vexari reinforcements mobilizing. The hive's death had bought them time, but not immunity. Raj leaned against the railing, breathing hard. One more push. For Earth. They pried the grate open with a crowbar from Mira's pack, the metal screeching like a warning. Slipping through, they dropped into the bay's shadows, the shuttle's ramp hissing open at their approach code. Inside, Elena sealed the door as the engines whined to life. Raj collapsed into a seat, Mira already at the controls. The ship lurched upward, punching through the dome's weakening shield. But as they broke atmosphere, Elena watched the planet recede, fractures spiderwebbing its surface. The Vexari fleet would come, seeking vengeance for their stolen existence. And Raj's wound? It would scar deeper than flesh. They'd survived for now. The shuttle's engines thrummed like a heartbeat under strain, pulling them farther from the fracturing world below. Raj shifted in his seat, grimacing as fresh blood seeped through the makeshift bandage on his side. The Vexari blade had gone deep during the hive breach, too deep for Elena's field kit to fully staunch. He waved off her concerned glance, eyes fixed on the viewport where stars blurred into streaks. Status on the fleet? He rasped, voice steady despite the pain-etching lines across his face. Mira's fingers danced over the console, pulling data from the stolen nav systems. Scanners show 3 cruisers vectoring in, fast. They'll intercept in under 10 minutes if we stick to this burn. She didn't look up, her cautious nature channeling into precise adjustments, rerouting power from life support to thrust. The air grew stuffier, but no one complained. Elena knelt beside Raj, her hands efficient and unyielding. The brave medic who'd patched them through worse on Earth's front lines. Hold still. If we hit turbulence, this'll tear wider. She injected a stabilizer, watching his color improve fractionally. In the dim cabin light, her face reflected the weight of their gamble, stealing the Vexari's core tech, the quantum nexus that powered their empire, now humming in the cargo hold like a caged storm. The first alarm blared, a proximity warning as the lead cruiser locked weapons. Mira banked hard, the shuttle groaning under G-forces that pinned them to their seats. They're hailing, demanding surrender. Her tone stayed even, witty edge dulled by focus. What do I tell them? Sorry, we borrowed your toys. Raj chuckled, then winced. Ignore it. Plot a slingshot around that gas giant ahead. Use its gravity to shake them. It was a human trick, born from old asteroid mining runs. Improvise with what's there, no fancy shields needed. The maneuver bought them distance, the cruiser's fire grazing their hull in a shower of sparks. But the second ship closed in, its tractor beam latching like an iron grip. The shuttle shuddered, consoles flickering as systems strained. "Can't break free," Mira said, sweat beading on her forehead. "Power's diverting to engines, but it's pulling us in." Elena's mind raced, her practicality kicking in. She unstrapped, staggering to the cargo hold where the Nexus pulsed with alien energy. "The core, it's unstable without their dampeners. If we tap it raw?" Risky, but they'd come this far on grit alone. "Do it!" Raj ordered from the cabin, his voice cutting through the whine of failing stabilizers. "Mira, give her auxiliary access." Elena pried open a panel, wiring the Nexus directly into the shuttle's grid with jury-rigged cables from her pack. Blue arcs danced across her gloves, the air ionizing with a sharp ozone tang. The tractor beam faltered as a surge rippled out, feedback frying the cruiser's emitters. Alarms wailed in the Vexari bridge, no doubt. Their own tech turned against them. The shuttle lurched free, Mira gunning the engines toward the giant's shadow. But the Nexus overheated, panels buckling, and a secondary explosion rocked the hold. Elena dove clear just as flames licked the bulkhead, her arms singed but intact. They skimmed the gas giant's turbulent atmosphere, the pursuing ships scattering in the magnetic storms. Distance grew, the fleet's signals faded into static. Raj slumped back, exhaustion claiming him as the pain meds kicked in. "One step closer," he murmured. Mira set a course for the nearest jump point, the stars steadying ahead. Elena returned to his side, binding her own burns with quiet resolve. The Nexus cooled, its power now theirs, Earth's edge against the stars. But in the silence, a new ping echoed on the scanners. Reinforcements, vast and closing. The ping sharpened into a roar on the scanners. A swarm of alien interceptors blooming like thorns from the void. Mira's hands flew across the controls, rerouting power from non-essentials to shields. But the readouts screamed futility. Dozens of them closing fast. Their signatures laced with the same Nexus energy they'd just stolen. "Reinforcements," Elena said, her voice steady as she strapped into the co-pilot seat, ignoring the throb in her singed arm. They must have tracked the signature. Raj pushed himself up from the medbay cot, grimacing through the haze of painkillers. His wound was bandaged, but sweat beaded on his forehead. "How long?" "Minutes," Mira replied, her eyes locked on the holographic display. The stars wheeled as she banked hard toward the jump point, but the fleet's vanguard was already vectoring in, energy lances charging with that eerie blue glow. One grazed their hull, vibrating the deck like a tuning fork. Elena scanned the Nexus core, now humming in the hold, its stolen power pulsing in rhythm with the ship's heart. "We can't outrun them, but this thing, it amplifies signals. What if we overload it? Turn their own trap against them?" Raj nodded, piecing it together. "Feedback loop. Broadcast a Nexus burst, fry their systems from the inside, but it'll cook ours too if we're not careful." Mira shot a glance back. "Risky. One wrong pulse and we're space dust." "Do it," Raj said, hauling himself to the engineering console. His fingers danced over the patched wiring, rerouting conduits with the grit of someone who'd jury-rigged half the colony's life support back on Earth. Elena joined him, her cautious precision balancing his bold hacks, soldering a bypass here, calibrating the flow there. The air grew thick with ozone, the core whining as it built charge. The first interceptor locked on, torpedoes streaking like angry hornets. Mira jinked, deploying decoys that bloomed into false heat signatures, buying seconds. Alarms wailed as another lance scorched their flank, melting sensor arrays in a shower of sparks. "Core at 80%, Elena called, her voice tight. A panel hissed steam near her hand, but she didn't flinch, twisting a valve shut with singed fingers. Raj grinned through the pain, sweat stinging his eyes. "Push it to 100. Let's give them a light show they'll never forget." Mira's voice cut in, terse and urgent. "Jump point in range, but they're between us and it. If this works, we dive through the mess." The Nexus hit critical, its glow bleeding through the bulkheads like dawn through cracked ice. Raj slammed the activation sequence and the ship shuddered as the burst erupted, an invisible wave rippling outward, invisible to the eye but devastating to the alien tech. Consoles flickered. The pursuing ships stuttered, their formations fracturing as systems cascaded into failure. One by one, they veered off course, engines flaming out in silent, spectacular wrecks. But the backlash hit hard. The Endeavor's lights dimmed, gravity fluctuating as the Nexus core overloaded its mounts. Elena grabbed Raj's arm to steady him, both of them tumbling as a secondary surge bucked the deck. Mira wrestled the controls, her witty edge gone, replaced by raw focus. Holding course, jump initiating! They plunged through the maelstrom, debris pinging off the hull like hail. The jump point swallowed them whole, stars stretching into hyperspace streaks. Alarms quieted to a low hum, the core stabilizing at last, its power dimmed but intact. Elena exhaled, slumping back. Her burns ached, a reminder of the cost. The arm would scar, and Raj's wound might sideline him for weeks. The ship had taken hits too. Repairs would eat their reserves. But as the scanners cleared, showing open space ahead, Mira allowed a small smile. Earth's waiting, Raj murmured, his voice defiant against the fatigue. And we've got their secret now. The stars burned brighter, unyielding.